Hello everybody, my name is Boris Vrabec. I'm the CTO of IA Technologies, and we're the company implementing the Ghana e-payment platform in Ghana. We are a Switzerland-based company, but our focus of business is on West Africa, the English-speaking countries of West Africa, mainly Ghana and also Nigeria. But Ghana definitely is the nicer place. We're specializing in e-government solutions and also payment solutions, which are real-time revenue collection and management solutions. We have developed several hardware devices to actually capture the transactions, because in the depth of the country, there is no internet everywhere. There is not everywhere there is GSM coverage even, so we had to come up with a device to actually do the transaction. And we also have some private sector solutions, and most of our solutions are written in Python from scratch, but we realized that a solution like Magento cannot be written from scratch in any reasonable time, so we had to select the best solution that we could find, although it's written in PHP. But so far it's incredibly powerful. We have done several e-government solutions in Ghana before. For example, for the Ghana Revenue Authority, we have implemented a value-added tax collection, monitoring and management solution, which is based on mobile point-of-sale terminal devices, which are installed at the trader's premises. So the trader can do a transaction, print a receipt, and the transaction data is then transmitted over GPRS to the central server, and is available with real-time reports and everything. And another solution that we have done is for the Ministry of Finance. Veronica has mentioned it right now. The ministry, departments and agencies, they have on-site cash collection by the banks. Means if you go to, let's say, Drivers and Vehicle Licensing Authority to get a driver's license, you first go to a bank counter, pay for the service, the bank collects the cash money, then you get a payment receipt, and then you go to the officer to actually get your driving license. And before we implemented our solution, which we call eMonitor, the banks collected the money, but nobody really knew how much they had collected. And although they were required to transfer the money to the government within 48 hours, it didn't happen. Or it took so much longer, and in the end, maybe it's only 50% or even less that hit the government accounts. So we implemented a solution that required the bank to also use mobile point-of-sale devices to record the transaction, print an electronic receipt, print a receipt, give the receipt to the citizen, and then the transaction is in a database in real time. So, and also communicated over GPRS. We have 2 SIM cards in the devices for failover purposes, because the network is quite shaky at times, and in order to ensure that the transaction really hits the server, we had to put in 2 SIM cards so that in case one of the networks is down, we switch over to the other one and do the transfer. Here you can see some screenshots of the Ghana e-payment portal, the front page, some product pages, for example, for Ghana Police. The last screenshot is for DNA testing for the Criminal Investigation Department. There are, right now, there are 11 ministries, departments, and agencies participating in the Ghana e-payment platforms. For example, the Drivers and Vehicle Licensing Authority. So if you need a license plate, or you want to register your car, or you need to get a roadworthiness certificate, etc., etc., then you can pay for the service or for your license plate online. But there are lots of other ministries, departments, and agencies that are also participating, like Ghana Police, the Food and Drugs Administration, the Minerals Commission. So if you want to get a license to dig for gold in Ghana, then you can pay for the license online. There are more than 100 ministries, departments, and agencies in total in Ghana. The 11 we are starting with are the first ones, and these 120-something MDAs in total have more than 30,000 revenue items, which are services, fees, goods, and so on. Eventually, we'll bring most of them into the platform, but right now we are concentrating on those ones that have the highest turnover to also get the people in the mood to use the platform. Some of the challenges we are facing while implementing it is that Ghana still mainly is a cash society. Only 30% of the people in Ghana actually have a bank account, and even less are using electronic payment forms like credit cards or mobile wallets or things like this. So 70% of the population is using cash exclusively. And on top of this, most of the standard payment processors like PayPal, AuthorizeNet, you name it, probably you know them, they're not present in Ghana, and they don't support Ghana as a country because of the so-called high risk that is perceived with West Africa. And there's only one bank in Ghana that has a web acquiring license for Visa, which makes it a bit difficult to actually come up with an electronic payment form on the platform. And most banks, when they issue payment cards, they issue proprietary cards. So it's not a Visa or a MasterCard, it's the bank's own network, and these cards work on the bank's own ATMs, but if you go to a different ATM, it just doesn't work, which also makes it quite difficult because most of these cards, or if not all of these cards, are not enabled for online transactions. And if you try to interface with the banks that are there or the payment processors, then you find some very proprietary interfaces that have been built by companies from India or Pakistan, and you name it, doesn't really help. IR Technologies, as we have been operating in Ghana for more than 10 years, of course we know about these problems, and when we were invited to participate in the tender that was put forth by the Ministry of Communications, NITA and the World Bank, we were working on our own proprietary payment network and platform, which is called PayAll. And PayAll, as the name suggests, integrates or tries to integrate all available payment types from cash, check, credit cards, debit cards, and also mobile monies. In Ghana, you have 5 mobile network operators, and all of these mobile operators have mobile wallets, so you can put money on your phone, and participating merchants then accept mobile payments. The problem is these mobile monies, they're not interoperable. So if you're an MTN customer, you cannot send money to Tigo, which is another mobile operator. So you have to integrate all of them. There's no central platform that enables cross-platform mobile money transactions. So knowing all these problems, we said, oh, we have to come up with something and integrate all of it and have like a central clearing and settlement platform that makes interoperation possible and also enables utilities like electricity company of Ghana, like the water company of Ghana, the insurance companies, and also the government to collect payments with all these payment types, especially cash money, because 70% of the market, at least 70% of the market is still cash-based. So we had to find a solution for cash payments that also work online. So how do you do that? Do you scan the money and send it by email? That obviously doesn't work. So back to our mobile point-of-sale devices. We came up with a multi-tiered agent network. That means that, for example, even a pharmacy shop can become a pay-all agent. And then agent can even appoint sub-agents. And if they collect, for example, cash payments for electricity bill of a citizen, then he earns a commission. And the sub-agent will earn a commission and so on. These agents either operate on a prepaid basis, and for collected money their credit limit goes down, or they get a credit line by the bank, which they have to pay against. Other features of pay-all are mobile top-ups. Mobile top-ups to recharge your phone's balance are one of the major revenue drivers in Ghana. Mobile communications is really booming because also it enables internet access. In Ghana, there is no phone network. So the primary way for citizens to go online is by using your SIM card. They have 3.5G networks, not throughout the country, but GPRS is available almost everywhere. So with Pay-all, which we are trying to integrate, you see one of the point-of-sale devices on the right-hand side. It's RFID enabled, so we also issue RFID cards to account holders, and you can just beep the card to the device for authentication, in addition to a PIN code. You see a diagram of how the agent network looks like. So you have pay-all merchants, you have a payment point where people can go to make cash and check payments, or pay for utility bills or whatever bill there is to pay. When we started implementing it, the network bandwidth was very low and always congested. So we had to come up with a very, very teeny tiny data protocol. It's binary, proprietary. Even JSON was too big. Something you can compare it to binary JSON. A typical transaction fits in 128 bytes, and that always slips through somehow, even if you're using GPRS. You have a screen on the device with a menu for different services. The device has a printer to print receipts for the citizen, and as I said before, it has 2 or even 4 SIM cards in areas where the network is really shaky, and we fail over multiple times until we find a network that finally works. We also have a MagStripe reader that is optional to the device, so we can also accept some of the proprietary bank cards to do transactions for citizens who actually have a card. As I said before, our other solutions, we've all of them we've written from scratch. So why did we choose Magento and not implement the Ghana e-payment platform ourselves? The challenge is that we have so many different MDAs with different products, different services, a multi-tiered structure, and we said there's no way we can build something like this ourselves in reasonable time. It would have taken us 10 years to get there where Magento is already, so there's no point. So we choose Magento because, for example, SOAP is a protocol most of the banks do speak. Of course, it's a little bit different from the standard SOAP. You have to heavily customize it, but at least we have it. There is no REST API available on the bank side. These enterprise core banking solutions, they're using Oracle FlexCube or something like this. If there is an interface, then it's SOAP or even some proprietary interface that comes with a 5,000-page documentation on it and takes you 3 months to read it. So SOAP is the best guess we have. And we found that Magento is really extensible and customizable in really unlimited ways. There are so many modules, and on top of it you have this incredibly powerful Magento API, which enables you to basically build anything. And of course it's open source, so you can glance through the source code, and especially with such a solution for the government, you really want to make sure that there's nothing fishy going on. Implementation specials, I would call it more challenges. For example, these MDAs I was talking about, they have a retention rate, means of the money that is being collected for a service. They cannot keep it, at least not all of it. So, for example, if you look at the driver's license, the MDA, the Drivers and Vehicle Licensing Authority, can only keep 15% of it. The remaining 85% go to a consolidated government account. And on top of it, you have, as I said, you have different payment types. You have mobile monies, you have Zenith banks, web acquiring of Visa cards, you have other payment processors like eTransact. They're coming from different sources into a pooled account. And from this pooled account, we actually have to settle them into the various MDA accounts based on the retention rate. So let's say a citizen completes a transaction online and he chooses different products from different MDAs. You have different retention rates. So you have to split all the transactions within an order, or all the parts of an order, calculate the retention rate, and then settle the funds into various accounts of the MDAs and of the government at Bank of Ghana. That means we had to build a full-blown settlement engine into Magento that automatically interfaces with the Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement System, which is also a government institution. It's an interbank settlement platform. I think it's the first integration of Magento in a national interbank settlement platform. And it's called GACH, the Ghana Automated Clearing House. 5 minutes, okay, no problems. Just another 25 slides. So I have to hurry up a little bit. The splitting is done automatically. We get XML payment reports from the various payment processors. We have built a web service for them to push the reports into. Then we process all the collected payments, and then we produce these GACH files and post them to another web service of various banks, which then process it through the Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement System to then finally settle the amounts of the various MDAs into the different accounts. That is one of the settlement diagrams. It's, if pay all is the chosen payment type, you see, probably you cannot even read it. You see the flow of the money into the various accounts. Wasn't that easy to build it, but we're almost there. It's working now. We can settle into the government account, and we can also settle into the various MDA accounts with various payment types. By the way, I'm sorry that the layout is a little bit broken, but I think that's because Kuba is using a Mac and it's a Windows presentation in the PowerPoint file. Additionally, we have to do third-party integrations, which means there are already existing portals of various government agencies. For example, the GREG is the government e-registration portal, which is a department of Registrar General's department. So if you want to register a business, you go to another website which has forms which you can fill, and at the end of the process, you're transferred to the Magento-based Ghana e-payment portal, and the third-party portal integrates via API, means the third-party portal creates a user, creates a shopping cart, puts the product, the virtual product, into the virtual shopping cart, and then transfers the user and the session, and the user is presented with a filled card for him to do the checkout. The same thing has to be done for the Total Revenue Integrated Processing System, TRIPS. It's really a trippy name, where, for example, if people want to do tax payments online, value-added tax payments or income tax or whatever tax they want to pay, they fill forms on the TRIPS platform, and the TRIPS system is then using the Magento API to create a user, create a card, put a virtual tax product in it, sets the price and the TIN number and all the various details, and then forwards the user to the checkout process of Magento. Then there's even another third-party platform which is called eServices, which offers different forms for the citizen to fill, death and birth register, so people can fill these forms, dozens of them, and at the end of the process they're again transferred to the Magento platform, to the Ghana e-payment platform, and the details are transferred via the API, or set via the Magento API. A couple of years ago, there were no data centers whatsoever in Ghana, so everything had to be hosted outside of the country. What we usually did was we co-located with mobile network operators. We had to persuade them to put our servers in their data centers, which they really didn't like. But in the end, we managed to persuade them. But for this solution, for this platform, it was not an option to have the Ghana e-payment platform hosted within a commercial company's data center. And fortunately, NITA itself, the National Information Technology Agency, built a data center especially for these e-government solutions. They got a full-blown VMware vSphere license and lots of capacity. So we just started up a couple of SUSE Enterprise Linux instances, installed the Magento Enterprise edition, and we were almost good to go. Also, until recently, there was no real upstream internet connectivity. There was one C cable, but that was low bandwidth and always congested. But recently, several fiber optic undersea cables have been deployed, and bandwidth is no longer a problem. There is a backup site in Ghana, and the virtual machines, the running virtual machines, can be moved from one location to another in case of disaster, which is also pretty standard these days. Thank you very much. And I'll also